Welcome back to another deck profile video on the DIGI-PANDA channel. The first deck profile I wanted to take a look at is the CS deck. And while there are many versions of this deck, whether you're going for aggro, control, or a variant of the two combined, today's focus is going to be an OTK strategy. Per the usual, I'll discuss elements that the deck incorporates, and why they're important along with combos before diving into the overall deck profile. CS is the first one I wanted to focus on because with pre-release in just a few short days, there are definitely certain cards and combinations that you'll want to be on the lookout for. And remember, my pre-orders are still available for fan favorites from this set that are available to sleeve out your deck. Check out these prices because they'll be gone soon. CS is a new trait that appears in the Digimon card game, and with a ton of members, whether you're playing cards from Nokia Shiramine, Arata Sonata, Rina Shinomiya, Kyoko Kurami, Ami Aiba, Jimmy Ken, Sayo, and more. But in early testing, there have been a lot of interesting and unique interactions that I honestly hadn't anticipated when reviewing over said cards. While you might immediately think, yeah DIGI-PANDA, these level 3s are really good. Ultimately, you're not just necessarily looking at tucking your level 4s for more effects, but rather you can even do your level 5s and 6s as well. For a refresher, each of these level 3s has the same inheritable of allowing you to take the top CS trait Digimon card of the stack and place it as the bottom Digivolution card to draw 1. However, each of these also triggers their own your turn effects whenever this would happen. With Palmon, gaining you a memory, Terriermon playing a CS Tamer if you have one or less of them in play, and hagurumon DP reducing your opponent's Digimon by 3000 DP. Likewise, when you climb up to their level 4 forms, each one has a specific utility that gets additional benefits if you have that second level 4 in the sources. Togemon gives one of your Digimon plus 3000 DP, and then if you have two or more of the same level cards, this Digimon gains Raid and Piercing. Gargomon plays its CS Tamer if you have one or fewer Tamers, and guardromon DP reduces an opponent's Digimon by 3000 DP. But if this Digimon has two or more same level cards, you de-Digivolve one on one of your opponent's Digimon. Considering in the up-and-coming format you could be facing cards that can warp Digivolve, honestly hitting an opponent's Digimon with that DP reduction and then de-Digivolving it means more than likely it hits that DP reduction of 0 and ceases to exist. For an OTK variant of this deck, these were honestly the 3 level 4s that I felt were the best in mind. The remaining level 4s honestly felt too entwined with their respective archetypes, which is why we're going to jump ahead to the level 5s. Realistically, there are only 2 CS trait Digimon that I'd highly recommend in this level 5 lineup. The first of course being Rizegreymon for the ability to not only play a Tamer with the CS trait if you have one or less, but the inheritable that gives you an extra security check. Remember, because you have those level 3s that you can tuck your top stacked CS trait to the bottom, in combination with the card effects, if you happen to have a second Rizegreymon, you could easily go into a second one and then Digivolve into your level 6 for a 3 security breaker. The only other Digimon that can realistically achieve this is going to be bluemeramon because of its inheritable alliance. While true you can attack with it as a standalone Digimon, rarely have I been using the main effect in testing, and more so for my level 6s. Though if you play a little bit more control, the Okumon isn't bad because of Arata Sonata's redirect effect, which could trash your opponent's security. So now the question, what's the top end look like? In my preliminary testing, alphamon is probably the most busted card in this deck. On play, when Digivolving, and when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5000 DP for the turn. Meaning at a bare minimum, if you Digivolve into this Digimon, keep turn and attack, you could do a minus 10,000 DP reduction. But here's the kicker. All turns, once per turn when this Digimon suspends, if Kyoko Kurami is in the sources, or if this Digimon stack has 2 or more same leveled cards, it gets plus 3000 DP until your opponent's turn ends, and then this Digimon unsuspends. The beauty is, if you're attacking with Rizegreymon in the sources, you can check for 15,000 DP at bare minimum 2 checks. And in a format that largely doesn't look at having security bombs in the deck, it's usually just big chunky bodies. And with that unsuspend, this means that you could attack again for another minus 5000 DP reduction. But what would another secondary level 6 be for CS decks? While true there are other CS trait Digimon like Wargreymon, Metal Garurumon, and All-Force Vidramon, these are 2 archetypes specific to work for an OTK strategy. But you know what was actually an extremely viable strategy? Diaboromon himself. Pairing this Digimon into the CS deck calls for not just an aggressive strategy, but a defensive one as well. If you were to incorporate CS Tamers like Arata Sonata, this provides you a defensive Tamer to redirect to this specific Digimon with inheritable buffs or even the tokens themselves. But the ultimate combo that I found and really enjoyed with this is the fact that you have a diaboromon that can pair itself with bluemeramon for a 3 security breaker. Remember, when diaboromon is digivolved into, this plays a token with 3000 DP. And when you attack, you drop another token with 3000 DP. Which means for its all turns, once per turn effect, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost, but also double alliance with diaboromon's innate alliance effect, and bluemeramon's inheritable alliance effect to be 18,000 DP and check 3 security. In terms of actual combos, I've had instances where I've pulled Ukomon level shenanigans and digivolved in the back for a cost of 1. Because if you don't happen to have that level 4 handy, choking your opponent on memory is all you can do. But assuming you have multiple level 4s, this is as easy as going into one in preparation for the other. Say you promote out Guardromon on turn 2 with a terriermon underneath. By tucking Guardromon to the bottom of the stack, terriermon is now able to play out Ami Aiba, and then you can use wanyamon's effect to digivolve immediately into another CS trait Digimon for a reduced cost of 1. Going into Gargomon, this lets you immediately play out a second tamer, whether it be Ami Aiba or even a Rata Sonata. Should you have 2 Ami Aibas in play, this means you can climb up to your level 6s on turn 2 all for a memory cost of 1. Because suspending your first Ami Aiba lets you go into rizegreymon, and then the second one lets you go into alphamon. This means when you attack after your Digivolution, your alphamon will DP reduce 5000 DP twice, be 16,000 DP, and break 4 security shields. For an early turn special, that's pretty rough. Not to mention after you've passed turn, this Digimon will unsuspend with Reboot and be able to block twice. But there's one thing I didn't mention during Alphamon's card. Did you know that placing rizegreymon to the bottom Digivolution sources isn't the best part? After you've used Alphamon's effect to unsuspend, if you haven't used your level 3's effect, you can place Alphamon to the bottom of the stack and digivolve into another one. Thereby, if this Alphamon attacks, you'll be able to unsuspend again. Now on the flip side, with bluemeramon as I mentioned, you could climb into diaboromon, play a diaboromon token, and delete your opponent's lowest play cost Digimon. By then attacking, you can play another token, and then double alliance for 3 checks. But combos aside, as I've mentioned, these are some of the early card combinations I've been tinkering with. And with a relatively unknown meta, I'm basing my findings and deck style off of 2 things. Number 1, an unchanged meta where players will still be gravitating towards an aggressive style deck like Royal Knights, Magidramon, and Tsukuyamon. And number 2, the lack of security bombs because for the most part, immunity is prevalent in every deck now. Because of this, more so deck building in Digimon currently stands on speed and counting to 5. So with the limited testing completed, I want to stress that this deck is by no means perfect, but more so that you can use this as a baseline before you pivot into a build that suits your taste, style, and local meta. For this build, I'm currently on 4 copies of Wanyamon and 1 copy of Sumemon. Surprisingly, you can run 1 Sumemon because this Digimon also looks at CS trait Digimon being played. But overall, you can omit this and just go with the Wanyamons because they reduce your Digivolution cost by 1 when you peel the top source to go into the same level. Level 3s again, you won't see any deviations from here because these are the 3 rookies in the core that work together and were partnered with Ami Aiba. And for 4s, the same thing. Because you are frequently peeling your 4s into 4s, I do think running a higher level 4 count is necessary. And for 5s, again, I don't see any significant changes here because rizegreymon is the extra check, while bluemeramon surprised me with how well it paired with diaboromon. In early testing of my level 6s, I did try Leopardmon Ace because it can pair with the bluemeramon as well. But ultimately I decided against it because it just didn't really hit like diaboromon. Diaboromon's removal and adding extra bodies each turn created a wall supplemented by a Rata Sonata's redirect effect. But of course, Alphamon was arguably one of the most broken aspect of this combo if it was promoted out and peeled into a second one the same turn. Option card wise, because your colors are all over the place, the only consistency piece that I felt was necessary was the 4 copies of Kurumi Detective Agency. Because its effect adds CS trait cards, it's not just limited to your Digimon, but also to your Tamers. And lastly for Tamers, you'll find it surprising that Kyoko Kurumi is only at 2 copies in this deck. Overall, its return from the trash can be utilized, but it just didn't come up too often in early testing. Instead, my memory fixing priority went to Rata Sonata, because you can redirect all of your opponent's attacks into your CS trait Digimon, regardless of level and name. And of course, 4 copies of Ami Aiba to cheat up the Digivolution line. But again, I want to stress that this build has had limited amounts of testing, and it should no way be evaluated on being the best version. You might adjust your ratios to find something that better suits you, or even toss out cards as the meta changes. But the best part about this deck is that its entire contents are self-contained to BT22 Cyber Eden as a set. And whether you open bluemeramon with diaboromon, or rizegreymon with alphamon in your pre-release, this combo in itself may give you an advantage. What are your thoughts on the CS Trade archetype, and did you learn something today in this video? Let me know in the comments if you did, or if you have a suggested change for the deck profile. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.